And we have some big breaking news coming in right now. The Supreme Court has dismissed the review petitions filed by the centre and gay rights activists against its December 2013 verdict on Section 377. Remember, NAS Foundation, an organisation that has been an active crusader for the rights of the LGBT community, had in fact filed a review petition in the Supreme Court against its recent ruling that set aside the Delhi High Court's order of it. This, in fact, will be definitely a huge setback to a lot of gay rights activists and even the centre, since they have, in fact, been pushing for this review petition. Remember, the Supreme Court had recriminalized gay sex in December 2013. Let's just listen to a reaction, in fact, coming in right now.
Well, it seems that you are right, and we are extremely disappointed. We will be taking our options legally and hope to file another petition, curative petition soon.
Okay, but as far as the government is concerned, they can also file a curative petition, they can get a presidential reference, they can use a legislative approach. What would you like the government to do to show the real resolve in this issue?
Well, I think they have also the options. They have to decide which option is the best. I cannot advise them, but I think the government has been resolved on this issue, and I think they should pursue it.
Same Hindi,
सर हिंदी में बता दीजिए सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने 377 को लेकर आज क्या फैसला दिया है?
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने आज जो रिव्यू पिटीशन थी उसको नाकार कर दिया है। ये अभी हमें खबर मिली है और उसका पुष्टि भी हमने करवा लिया है। तो इसके संदर्भ में हम जो भी हमारे कानूनी विकल्प हैं उसका हम उपयोग करेंगे और आगामी अवधि में हम क्यूरेटिव पिटीशन भी फाइल करने की।
उसके अलावा कोई और ऑप्शन है?
और ऑप्शन और भी हैं, वो अभी हमने एग्जामिन नहीं किए हैं, तो हम करेंगे। और हैं अभी
आप लोगों के लिए आज के फैसले के बाद क्या 377 के तहत समलैंगिकता अपराध माना जाएगा?
माना गया है, 11 दिसंबर 2013 से माना गया है और अभी जारी रहेगा कि वो अपराध है। ठीक है?
Thank you, sir. Sir, if you could join us for a quick chat.
Right, that is the Supreme Court actually refusing to reverse its decision of, remember, December last year, its verdict. They had, in fact, recriminalized gay sex. The NAS Foundation and other noted gay rights activists had, in fact, who had been active crusaders for the rights of the LGBT community, had filed a review petition in the Supreme Court against its recent ruling that set the Delhi High Court's order aside. But now it is a huge setback for gay rights and these activists across the country, because the Supreme Court has in fact refused to reverse the December verdict that it had in fact passed on gay sex, recriminalizing it. We'll definitely try and get more reactions on the story, but this is in fact going to be a huge blow. Remember at the time, even when the Supreme Court had in fact passed this order in December, it had sparked massive outrage among the LGBT community, considering their main complaint now is that they are going to be charged as criminals. And Jaskirat Singh Baba, our correspondent who's been tracking the story very closely, now joins us live. Jaskirat, a huge setback for gay rights activists and the LGBT community in general. They had filed this review petition in the Supreme Court, hoping for some reprieve, but the Supreme Court refusing to reverse its verdict that it had passed in December last year.
The decision has come out that the review petitions filed by the government as well as NAS Foundation, which has been at the forefront for more than a decade fighting for the LGBT community, their review petitions has been dismissed. We are going to speak with Mr. Anand Grover, who is a lawyer from Lawyers Collective for NAS Foundation. Sir, your first reaction to the fact that your review petitions have been dismissed?
Well, we are extremely disappointed. We thought that we had a very good case in review, but the judges obviously have thought otherwise. So, as I said, we are extremely disappointed.
As far as the government's resolve is concerned, they've come out and made very public statements about this judgment, about their support for the LGBT community. The government has their own armory, they have their own options available. Apart from a curative petition, why not have the government actually take the legislative approach or perhaps a presidential reference?
Well, I think the government will have to take a decision on the options available. As you know, elections are due very quickly, and there's only one session of parliament, so I don't know whether that will be feasible, but it's for them to decide. I just hope that they will also follow all the judicial routes that are available to them, and I think the government is firmly resolved. We hope that all other political parties will also be on the same page as we are.
Now, we understand that more often than not, review petitions don't always have a chance of getting admitted, of getting accepted, or overturning previous judgments. Over here, one of the judges who delivered the verdict had already retired. Of course, the hopes of the LGBT community were very high. The hopes of the activist community was very high. But going forward, apart from curative petition, what else can be done to perhaps bring back the Delhi High Court order that had given them some amount of legitimacy?
Well, there are other judicial routes like read petitions, and those also have to be examined. But I can tell you the battle may be lost, but the war will not be lost at all, because this is a matter of justice. And I think the courts must take note of the fact that justice is on our side, and ultimately I think we will be victorious, whether it's the legislative or the judicial route.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Grover. So obviously the battle is lost, but the war is not over as far as the activists and the LGBT community suggest. It is of course going to be an option for them to file a curative petition. One has to see what decision will be taken by the government after this dismissal, and a huge setback, I must say, for the LGBT community.
Absolutely. Jaskirat, stay with us. We also have Honor, who's a noted filmmaker and who has been a noted activist for the LGBT community, joining us on the phone line. Honor, this is definitely a huge setback for the LGBT community and gay rights activists across the country. What is the next step do you think that should be taken?
Honestly, right now, the first reaction is again being disheartened after 11 December. This is the second time one has been let down as a citizen of this country. Hoping for a progressive decision again, but again we have been let down. And I honestly don't know what are the legal options, and I am sure the fight won't stop, and there are people who are already looking into it. But it just makes the entire, it's such a setback that, it just sets back everything by years. Everything anyway takes years in this country to, take shape. This movement to reach this place till the 11 December verdict in 2013 had taken so many years already. So it's disheartening. As an artist also, one feels disempowered, because this ruling is also going to affect in terms of how we portray the community in literature, arts and cinema.
Absolutely. Honor, filmmaker, in fact, expressing that this is a huge setback to gay rights and the LGBT community. They have in fact been disheartened ever since the Supreme Court verdict, remember, on the 11th of December last year, that refused to decriminalize gay sex, in fact recriminalizing it. But the lawyer for the NAS Foundation, as we just hear, Anand Grover, said that the fight will in fact continue. Our correspondent Jaskirat Singh Bawa still with us. Jaskirat, what are the next steps actually that these gay rights activists, namely the NAS Foundation and the Centre, could perhaps take now that the Supreme Court has refused, has dismissed this review petition? And before we go to Jaskirat, we'll go to Harish Iyer, who is an equal rights activist now joining us. Harish, we understand this must be really disheartening and a huge setback to the LGBT community. What are the next steps that you are going to take now that the Supreme Court has rejected these petitions?
This is only going to strengthen our bonding. I mean, we are in the process of consultation. We are going to consult with gay rights activists and lawyers across the nation, and we don't really know what route we are going to take, but yes, we are definitely going to consult. And yes, this doesn't the verdict doesn't stop me from being gay. I am a proud homosexual, proud Indian homosexual man, and I will continue to be a proud Indian homosexual man. What it really does is it criminalizes sexual behavior which is not penile-vaginal in nature, and I think that it's a huge setback for democracy, and it's a huge setback given the fact that we are not standing true to the values of our own constitution, which gives me the right to equality, gives me a right, gives me a life of dignity, which grants me a life of dignity and a life without any discrimination. So it's a huge setback. We need to sit down and strategize and see exactly what our next move is going to be. But we are not going to be cowed down by it. We are only going to emerge more strongly and more vociferously against this.
Absolutely. Harish Iyer, gay rights activist, saying that their fight will in fact continue. This is after the Supreme Court has in fact refused to listen to has dismissed this review petition. Mr. Iyer, we also understand that the government in fact supported your cause majorly in a big way. They also filed a petition in the Supreme Court seeking a review of this judgment that in fact upheld this 153-year-old law criminalizing this consensual sex between adult and homosexual men. Now that we see that the government is perhaps likely to change with elections coming around, how do you think that is going to affect or impact your fight? But we seem to have. Go ahead, Harish.
Yeah, I've had a word. I mean, I have seen political parties coming out in support, whether it's Congress, whether it's Aam Aadmi Party, and I do hope that one thing is definitely for sure. My vote is not going to a party which doesn't believe in the tenets of human rights. So that's one thing that's definitely something, because we might be called a minuscule minority, but we are quite a sizable number when it comes to vote bank as well. So we are the people who actually go out and who vote, and we are watching it. We are watching everyone's reactions quite closely, and we are definitely going to vote for somebody who believes in equal rights, who believes in the democracy of our country.
Harish Iyer, gay rights activist, he's giving us this reaction, saying that their fight will continue. This is after the Supreme Court has in fact dismissed these review petitions. Thank you so much for speaking with Headlines today. Anjali Gopalan, the head of NAS Foundation, now joining us on the phone line. Anjali, we understand that NAS Foundation has been one of the noted crusaders in terms of fighting for the LGBT community. Now, the Supreme Court has in fact has dismissed these review petitions. What is going to be your next step of action?
Well, I'm sure we're looking at what we can do. I mean, this is not the end of the road. It never is, right? Right. Because rights are something that we have to continue to fight for till we get them. So let us see what our next steps will be. I'm sure there is further legal recourse, and if there is, we will take that. Otherwise, we will continue our fight. This is just a setback, right?
Absolutely. And Anjali, what are your legal options? If you can actually elucidate that for our viewers, what could be your possible legal options before the NAS Foundation and other gay rights activists?
We don't really know yet. Our lawyers will be looking into it. So it's too early to say, but I'm sure there are some options we can look into.
All right, Anjali Gopalan, the head of the NAS Foundation, thank you so much for speaking with Headlines today. This is the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has in fact rejected the anti-Section 377 petitions that were filed by noted gay rights activists and the centre.